Time travel is the most baffling thing, until it's replaced by an even stranger reality. You learn to accept it, as people learn to accept all everyday miracles, until the fantastic so thoroughly pervades our lives that it finally becomes mundane. Humans did the exact same thing the day after the airplane, the rocket ship, and the smartphone were finally unleashed upon an unsuspecting species. They got up and went to work, just like every other day. So did I. And so did the younger version of myself. At least she was trying to seem like she'd been working before I found her hiding in the closet, reading a list of stolen rules and looking guiltier than a teenage boy who'd been caught fucking a stuffed teddy bear. Dr. Aphelis? I interrupted, barely hiding my grin. I'm shocked. I stared down at the blood-stained list of rules in her hand. Her mouth flapped around, but in her fear, she was unable to master the voice-to-words concept. You took a list that wasn't yours, and were nowhere to be found after your coworker experienced such an unnatural incident. I huffed through my nose. It seems that you're willing to do the unthinkable in the name of getting what you need. And Myron couldn't even follow the most important rule. She clenched her teeth. I had a 4-year streak of predicting which incoming doctors will break the soonest. This will ruin my chances in the office pool. She bought the story because it was very easy to lie to her, and I had to turn around before she saw me break into a full smile. Get to work, doctor. You've got 3 hours left on your shift, and those symptoms aren't going to Google themselves. I learned early on that surgery hurts, but it heals. This poor girl was plagued by a paralyzing case of self-doubt, and there was no anesthesia that could be applied during its removal. But that girl needed all the confidence she could get if she wanted to survive the years ahead, and I cared too much to hold back the best treatment, even if the short-term cost felt scary. I considered our little conversation to be a win. Besides, she would get over it. I was certain. Years passed. Each day I heard a little more, because I can't stop thinking of what I would do if I could go back. And I know that I would probably still make the same choice. That was the moment. I could feel one of the largest remaining pieces of my charred heart fissure and fall away. I turned aside, because I could not afford to let her see my brokenness. Not now. Not after everything. Ellie, I sighed. Why do you think that St. Francis Hospital would have such an arbitrary set of rules for its interns? The rules come from somewhere beyond us, she deadpanned. I understand that now. We're just here to follow them. This girl had come a long way. I was the one now half a breath from tears. I shook my head as a distraction. No, Dr. Aphelis, that isn't true. I wiped my eyes, desperate for self-control. What was the first rule? Her response was emotionless. Never, under any circumstances, share your copy of the rules with anyone else. Calm and focused once more, I stared right at her and raised an eyebrow. And how does that make any sense? A swell of smugness rose up as I watched her stumble. It was important to see. Not all of us were going to make it dash. That much is true, I answered dismissively. We've seen more than enough evidence of that tonight. But you're wrong about the rule coming from somewhere else. I bore my eyes into her. She was speechless. I don't understand. Then you're starting to get it? I shot back, regaining my arrogant groove. You weren't top of your class, Dr. Aphelis, not even close, but you're at least smart enough to be a doctor. Can you attempt to figure this out? She said nothing. It was a calculated move, and I respected it. I shook my head to mask my pride in her. Then I made the leap. Did you really never make the connections, Dr. Aphelis? The trial of jumping off of a roof? Judgment from an authoritative janitor? Multiple different rules about burning children. Her jaw fell. The first rule prohibits the sharing of rules because no one has the same set. Each doctor is faced with his or her own list of restrictions, and most aren't up to the challenge. Her mouth opened and closed 3 times before she could conjure a response. Every rule is just for me? I took off my glasses and bore my eyes into her. People think that this hospital wants to destroy them, when in reality each person is given every tool needed for survival. I snorted. It's impossible to stop most individuals' desire to kill themselves. She attempted and failed to connect the dots. But, Rule 4, why did it tell me not to touch your Reese's peanut butter cups? She almost figured it out. Almost. But still, I hid the truth. Because it's my favorite candy. She nodded slowly. Mine too. I waited half a second longer, wondering if she'd finally grasp the truth and possibly break the cycle. But it was not to be. I put my glasses back on and revealed all that I could. You're going to ask what this place is. I've survived St. Francis far longer than most. That's why people expect me to tell them. I waited, choosing each of my next words very carefully. So before you say that you want me to tell you the truth, you should understand this fact. I stared her down until she was finally turning away from me again. It's important for me to have the upper hand. There are things that I can't know and things that I don't know. Embracing these ideas as a strength instead of a weakness is the reason I've endured where others have not. The silence meant that she only understood all of some of what I'd said, none of some of it, and only some of all of it. Such is the condition of being an enlightened physician. Can you see the individual rules on each doctor's paper? She asked, breaking the silence. I smiled. It was true that other doctors had their own mysterious list of rules, but she still didn't get it. No, but I can see what's written on their faces, which is the same thing. I don't get it, she answered flatly. I sighed in disappointment, throwing her one more bone. Do you remember when I reminded you of Rule 9? Her mind whirred with the stupid brilliance of rote memorization. You told me that the morgue needed 13 cadavers at all times, she answered confidently. No, I lied. You told me that. I acted like I had known the entire time, and you responded to my confidence. Each person's list of rules is their own battle to fight. To be blunt, I'd rather see the doctors fail themselves through inadequacy than see the patients suffer because someone was unable to live up to their own unearned arrogance. She blinked. I'd like to earn my arrogance. I liked that answer. I liked it a lot. The good news is that I think you might have the endurance to survive the unusually lengthy journey it would take for you to achieve earned arrogance. My heart broke with pride at the unseen path. Then the door burst open with an unplanned emergency that defines a physician's everyday schedule, and we moved on. She never asked how I knew that the trial of jumping off a roof, judgment from an authoritative janitor, or the extreme importance of burning children defined her life. She didn't question why I even knew what those rules were in the first place. The truth had been there in plain sight, but had gone unnoticed until the second time around. Had it really not been obvious?